Hello, everybody. Welcome to Feedback for the week of January 31st, 2012. Welcome my esteemed panel of colleagues here. Jessica. Is it Leah or Leia? Because I call you different every week and you never correct me. So let's finalize this right now.
She's very nice about it.
Yes.
It's Leah.
Leah.
But a lot of people call me Leia, and I don't mind at all. So keep calling me Leia if that's what you naturally go to.
Do you know why people call you Leia?
Because I'm a princess.
Oh, there you go. Great answer. Then I shall call you Leia from here on out. And I like the accoutrement that you brought here today. Somebody got to play in the ball pit at McDonald's this morning.
Yeah, I did.
And
That's me.
and Rob Manuel.
Hey, how's it
welcome to
going?
the show. Also, congratulations on your. I don't even want to call it a lateral move. A move over to the web team. You are now
Yes.
bringing your distinct talents
Yay.
to the web team. Rob has served XPlay well for a number of years. 7 years, I think
7
you were
years.
on the show, and we were very
Yay.
very sad to see him
Yay.
go. But I know you're going to do great
Yes,
on the web stuff.
I am
And
now the features editor for the website. So
Congratulations
thank
on
you
that.
very much.
Awesome.
Which also means we'll probably see Rob a lot more on this show, which is great as well. We look
Yay.
forward
Yay.
to having your insight.
No one really wants to see that.
Not true, sir. So, guys, before we get started on the news, let's just warm it up a little bit. Nintendo considering a rebrand for the Wii U. Let's play a little game, help them name their next console. I shall start. If they really want to get eyeballs to this product, I would say call it the Xbox 720. That is what I think they should name.
Everyone
so-
keeps talking about
so
it.
mean.
You. Since everybody's already talking about the 720, I say they just swoop in and steal Microsoft's thunder and just name their console the
Just
Xbox
take
720.
it out from under them.
I think that'll be fine. Jessica, what about you?
How about the Super Wii U? I don't know.
That's a terrible. I'm voting it down right now. It's a terrible
Super
idea.
Duper NES Wii U.
Okay, you were good until the
2.0?
Wii U. I think the idea would be to
Okay,
focus on not using Wii U in the
Super-
title at all.
I just okay. Super duper awesome sauce NES.
Okay, that's going to sell really well in Japan.
Actually, it probably would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
Except
love-
it'd be like Happy Fun Time Super Duper NES.
yeah,
That's what it would
It's
be.
actually a direct translation.
yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, Jess, I'm going to write that down. We'll send that to Iwata ASAP. Princess Leia, what about you?
So I think that the original We Name the Revolution would be really cool for the Wii U. It's got a good connotation and sounds cool, and it is kind of revolutionary for the console to do this. And then another one that I thought of, thanks to NeoGAF, is the stream, because the device is going to be streaming whatever's on the TV into your controller. So I thought that would be a cool name for the system, and it would still kind of integrate what's going in it.
Stream makes me think of P,
Yeah.
which then makes me think
Think
of
of
the
Wii
Wii
U
U again.
or the
And
Wii U.
now we're
Yeah,
full
so
circle.
see, full circle. There we go.
Well done.
Yeah.
All right. Rob.
I was also thinking about the revolution, like taking it full circle. But the other one that I had was the I don't know. Because
That's
like
great.
Because kids like, what do you want for your birthday? I don't know. What do you want to play tonight? I don't know.
That's awesome, because
That
I
marketing
say that
baked
all
into
the
the public
time.
I don't know.
How was
Hey,
your day today?
I don't know. Guess what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What'd you
That's
do
a
at
really
school
good
today?
idea.
I don't know.
Wow.
The
What'd you
IDK.
do? Yeah, the IDK.
I like this quite a bit, actually.
Genius.
All right. I think these are all, well, let's be honest. They're all really bad ideas,
They're
but it was a really fun game that we just played.
None of them will be true.
None of them will be chosen.
None
then
of
again,
them.
they did name their console the Wii, so
I
there
know.
is.
But we
so-
never-
I think at the end of the day, I'm just excited to see what they come up with, because the Wii was so out of left field that and the Wii U is just so, what are you thinking?
Right.
That, like, what are they going to think of next?
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Do you think it's going to be better or worse?
It can't be worse than the Wii U. So I just don't see how it could be, unless it's like the Wii Up or something. Like,
Yeah.
what? So
We up.
I don't know. Hopefully that's not what
I
they picked.
just
That
don't
would be
know.
terrible.
Me or something like that.
I just want someone to explain the whole thing to me. Like,
Yeah.
there's still bits and pieces that seem very nebulous.
That'll never happen.
To like,
That'll
well,
never
if
happen.
I have a game that I have to play with the pad and I have to sort of look at things through the pad, what if I'm playing the game with the pad on the pad?
Too many questions, Rob.
But
Too many
I
questions that don't
have-
have answers.
What if I, oh God.
You'll know soon enough, sir. So
I
we,
don't know.
We really don't know. I mean, in a lot of ways, we only know what they've shown us. Like you saw at CES, they did tech demos and things like that. But we don't really know a lot of the functionality, I think, of the console yet. But what we do know is a couple big announcements that Nintendo actually did make in regards to online functionality this past week. the Wii U announcements, and I think you guys are going to kind of handle this story, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, sure. I mean, essentially, during an investor meeting, Iwata basically announced online gameplay. I mean, for lack of a better phrase.
They're doing it.
And like a Nintendo version of a PSN and an XBL. I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell. They're looking to have cohesive online gaming experiences. They're looking for, online to establish. Actually, I've got a great quote here. To establish a platform where various services available through the network for our consumers shall be connected via Nintendo Network Service, which basically says online gameplay to me, buying your
multiplayer.
Well, yeah, hopefully, and get rid of those Nintendo Friends codes. Let's actually have like an interactive, like profile kind of thing, online store, things of that nature. So it looks like that's the direction that they're headed, and I say more power to them.
Well, this is also coming from the people who said that online play was not important. Like when the Wii came out, they were like, "Well, you don't really need to be online. You don't need to really like be able to play with your friends." Like that's not.
We want to keep the experience in the living room. That's why with your families, which is why you've introduced the motion control.
Well, it was very like sort of multiplayer, sort of like bringing like people together in one room rather than separate rooms, which is a noble cause, but very
But then you came across problems with things like Super Smash Brothers and things of that nature where, I mean, obviously you want to play with
of course
other people and not necessarily only the ones in your house. Like, I don't want to have to keep on inviting friends that I kind of want to just have them stay at their place over to my house to play Smash Brothers with me. But then the issue was, now I got to go through this like rigmarole of friends codes, and this just sucks. And
I just think that Nintendo is kind of late to this party,
Sure.
and they need to really realize that, and they need to make their new system, whatever it is, really amazing and different than XBLA and PSN. And those things already have such a good infrastructure, and people can. They know how to use them at this point, and it's very second nature. So I just don't understand what Nintendo is going to do to bring that to the next level when the services like XBLA and PSN already have so much going for them. What's Nintendo going to be able to do?
Right. I mean, it's my hope that, number one, I think the fact that they finally, after all 20-something years, posted a fiscal loss was a big deal for them, and I think it really opened their eyes to, like, maybe we do need to, in some ways, catch up. But honestly, I think what they need to do, and I think they just need to steal all the good things from XBL and the PSN. I think they need to do what BioWare did with SWTOR and say, what works in MMOs? Let's take that and make it our own. I mean, it is what it is,
I think that's right, but they also have to make it really easy to use because they have so many families that they're kind of getting in and who already have the system and who are going to be buying the new system that they just have to make it so much easier for everyone.
Well, I think at this point, there's so many online transactions already that people, not necessarily with video games, but things like, apps and that nature, that as long as they make it like a one-touch deal, they're going to be fine. Yeah. Like, it's not going to, I mean, I think online purchasing, especially along these lines, isn't a foreign concept for people anymore. And so maybe that jump's not going to be as difficult as one might think.
Well, we're already seeing like Nintendo go into this realm with the 3DS, where you can actually buy games, through your 3DS. You don't have to go anywhere. And I think it actually sort of goes along with Nintendo's point because they hate piracy. So being able to, move a game from their servers directly to the customer sort of like negates that like mysterious like middleman that could be pirating their games. I think this is something that Nintendo really wants to do. They just didn't know how to do it beforehand.
Right. And I also love the fact that it seems like they're very obviously very aware on a financial level of their install base because they've moved so many pieces of hardware. But I love what they're saying. The 3DS has the necessary infrastructure for this. The same infrastructure is being prepared for the Wii U, which means they really are developing this with the idea that you will use all of your Nintendo products in the household in some connected manner. And I really like that a lot. And I think that's what they're trying to do with the Wii U, where you play the game, you can play it on the screen, you can take it with you. If somebody else wants to watch TV, then your game's here. And I like the idea that they're saying, hey, thank you for buying all of our products. We're going to make an effort to make them all work together so you can continue to use all of these things, as opposed to going, well, Now I've got the Wii U. I don't need the 3DS anymore. I like the fact that they're using all these together.
Thank you for buying those Nintendo Wii golf club attachments that really make a big difference in your golf game when you're playing golf on the Wii.
What are you talking about? You don't have the Wii bowling ball?
No, I don't have the Wii bowling
Yeah,
ball.
The Wii bowling ball really helps my game out.
Yeah, I doubt they're designing this with peripherals in mind, but as far as actual hardware is concerned, I
know,
think
I'm just teasing you.
It seems like I like what they're doing. I mean, I know it sounds like we bag on Nintendo quite a bit, and frankly, we do in a lot of ways. But I'm very excited about all of this. I think they're doing some great things.
That I personally bag on Nintendo is because for the first couple of years that they made their press conferences and announcements at things like E3, they consistently sat there and said, no, we haven't forgotten the hardcore gamer. We haven't forgotten the hardcore gamer. And I just don't like it when companies blatantly lie to my face.
Right.
It's such a hard thing to say hardcore gamer when you look at Nintendo's breadth of work anyway. I mean, it's hard to classify a lot of those games as hardcore games in the traditional sense, but
Right.
I think what they should have said
I
is
would
like
have been fine with them just saying, this is the route we're taking and this is what we're trying to accomplish, and thanks, guys. And
I
would
think
have
that
been
they're really
got it.
right now. Nintendo's just stuck between a rock and a hard place because they want to please the hardcore gamers, but they also know that the money is with the kids. So now the kids are, the kids that they were pleasing when I was young and when you guys were young even, we're grown up now and we still want to play Nintendo and we still are rooting for them because that's who we grew up with. But,
Completely.
Sure.
but they're not. But they want to, and I bag on Nintendo all the time, but in my heart of hearts, I am really rooting for them.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest announcement they made, I thought last year at E3 was that developer video they showed where they basically just had a video with all the third-party developers that were on board to develop for the Wii U. Didn't show anything, but when you have guys like Ken Levine and Tim Schafer, saying, hey, we're excited about developing for this, that spoke volumes about the direction that Nintendo's going in, where they say, you know what, maybe we can't just rely on people's nostalgia of Zelda and Mario. Like, we should invite other people to make quality games for our console.
Well, they've been very much like a first-party sort of console where it is like you're looking for the Mario, you're looking for the Zelda, you're looking for the Metroid, but other games outside of that just don't do as well on the Wii.
Or they're this absolute marketing geniuses that knew that everybody was going to buy a Nintendo Wii, including like the new crowd, and bring them in. And now that they've got them used to it, and then they've got the hardcore gamers now kind of salivating for the Wii U because everything's looking great and it's on HD, and now we've got online play. And then they can, now that the sales of the Nintendo Wii have kind of dipped, they've got this new one they're coming around with. They're like, see, we please everybody. You're like, oh God, you do. I love you. And then you go out and buy it and everything's crazy and kids start singing and world peace occurs.
All in one breath. All in one breath.
Oh my God.
Quite the accomplishment over there.
Thank you.
I'd love to think of Reggie in a meeting elevating himself to that level just now. This is what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna hammer fist the competition with our giant fists.
Isn't that what he
he's a
does at
big
E3
man.
every year?
He does hammer
Every
fist the
year. Oh,
competition
yeah,
quite a bit.
completely.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I think we can all agree this is a great step forward for the company, and I know it's been a long time since here at the G4 offices we've all been really excited to talk about Nintendo, and this is all, I think, really good news for that. Also, something that's pretty interesting is the near-field communication with the success of Spyro over the holidays. It seems like they're embracing this new / old concept of scanning physical items into games. So what's going on with that, Leah?
So the near-field communication is going to be a similar tech for the Wii U that is similar to Skylander Spyro Adventure. So it will become possible for people to create cards and figurines that they can electronically read and write data and then, let's see. And then they can expand the new play format in the video world. Adoption of this functionality will enable various other possibilities, such as using it as a means of making micropayments. So basically, you're going to be able to have a thing, and you're going to be able to scan in real-world items into the Wii U and play with them in some sort of way. And I feel like cool, but isn't that what the very first Kinect commercial said it was going to do? Like, it had the skateboard, and you can scan in your own skateboard. I still haven't seen that happen in any video game. But
I think Connect Fun Labs.
Yeah, maybe that was the only one.
Options to scan and create characters, and then you can get them to dance.
But even that technology still isn't quite there yet. Because I remember I actually did use Connect Fun Labs with a stuffed animal. It might have been even one of these guys, and it was just a big blob. So it will be interesting to see how Nintendo takes the technology and if it really works as well as it does in the Skylander Spyro game, which actually, if you guys haven't played it, works amazingly well.
Fantastic.
Right.
So if they can make it work as well as that, it would be great.
It's probably going to be like something a little bit. I mean, like if you buy, taking one of these games for an example, if you buy one of these like in the store, it's probably going to come with like a tag, or it'll probably have like a little like
one of those.
one of those little messages, one of those little scans. So you would put it up. It would scan it, and then you would be able to have this guy. So you wouldn't have to do like a 1-to-1 ratio of
Like
whatever
in
you're scanning.
Connectimals.
Yeah.
They basically give you a toy that you can play with, and then there's a scan code that you scan in. That's not as fun as being able to scan in.
I'm sorry.
I know.
Official
I'm
items.
just I'm being honest.
No,
I'm trying the best I can.
I agree. I mean, the
Micro
Kinect Fun Labs,
Oh my God.
although limiting because there's only so much fun you
Fun.
can have with
And a
googly
laugh.
eyes and a dancing pillow. You know, when we went and had hands-on with it, it was kind of cool to be able to be like, you know, scanning both sides and you
Yeah.
get kind of a three-dimensional image, and it was very interesting. And while I think the chances of Rob's statement might be more true for this, I'm really hoping that that the 3D scanning kind of thing is more along the lines of what happens.
I don't know. I'm kind of into a googly eyes and a dancing pillow.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with that.
Dude, that is
That's
you're
like
in
a-
the
Ask
wrong
Blair in college.
podcast.
Ask Blair in college.
That's like a Thursday night for me.
Yeah, right? You
Don't
can't tell, but
wanna know.
he's
I
got
think
his
that's the
furry
right
bottoms on
podcast.
right now.
Oh yeah.
He's got his kangaroo bottoms on right now. I
Who
like
doesn't?
the I like. You guys all?
I don't.
I don't.
I
either.
don't. I'm gonna opt out of
I'm
this
not.
one.
You have-
Yeah.
I can't say you'll see later because Jessica's sitting right next to me.
There's just no good direction this can go in. I like the idea that they made a point to say they're thinking about things like micropayments and
Oh, yeah.
microtransactions. Like I like the idea. I would like to be able to use the Wii U tablet because we've only talked about it in a gameplay sense. But I'd like to be able to do things like, and this is weirdly domesticated of me, but I would love to be able to go around my apartment or like go to the fridge, say, and scan UPC things. UPC codes and like order groceries through that,
Oh,
or
that'd be
be
great.
able to just scan my credit card, like get online, make a payment by just scanning my credit card would be
That
genius.
would be cool, but I think that Nintendo, before they start getting into the talking about, we're going to be able to charge you micropayments with this, they need to make sure it works first before they throw that in your face. So I don't really like that is how they ended the quote, that they're going to be able to use it as a means of making micropayments. You know, like, come on. So, explain to me why I should buy your product and then tell me that I might be able to make micropayments with it, not the other way around.
Well, I think Spyro did a really good job of showing that this technology can work. And I know Matt and I were talking about this. There's a company that was really excited about the Spyro game, and they make a spaceship game that was.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt was really excited about the possibility of them shipping, just like in Spyro, shipping tiny little spaceships that you could scan in and whatever. So I think that the tech does work. I mean, Spyro,
Yeah.
the reason it was so
it
great is that a
completely
2-year-old
works.
could be like, I want this, and put it here.
Or a
and then it-
24-year-old.
or a 24-year-old, or 30-something. But either way, I think the tech does work. And again, it's nice to know that they're moving. They're still thinking
Forward.
outside of the box.
Yeah.
And, moving forward, or at this point, catching up.
Actually
to the online.
learning from other people.
Yeah, which is a cool thing. And
I
know
love
it's
that new Spyro game. It's so much fun.
yeah, it was definitely the biggest like. All the friends that I had that had kids over the holidays, when I said, hey, what video games do you want? Every single one was like, the dragon game where you could scan the dragons. And then I'm like, oh, so the one where your 2-year-old can put it in the mouth and choke? Okay, yeah, sure, I'll send that
I
to you.
think
Don't
we
blame
have
me.
that at our house, don't we?
We do also have it at the house. But anyway, it's a good
So
step
do
in
your
the right
kids
direction.
like it as well?
We love putting them in our mouth.
Oh, okay,
I know
good.
that much.
Nom 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 nom.
All right, Rob, let's
Hey!
move on to the Street Fighter Cross Tekken characters, which I think will probably turn into a bigger discussion about exclusivity in general. But
Right.
for now, let's talk about the characters Capcom has revealed exclusive to the PS3.
Yes, Capcom actually just recently revealed that there is going to be a couple of new characters for Street Fighter Cross Tekken. They're bringing out Mega Man, but not like the Mega Man we all know from all the games. It's the Mega Man from the first box art of the game.
It's the cosplay Mega Man. It's the dude who dresses up at a convention as Mega Man. But the fat Mega Man.
But it's Fat Mega Man.
Fat Man.
Even if you're looking at the box cover, he looks fine. Like, this is the Mega Man who hasn't been working like in like 20 some years.
It's because his game just got canceled,
Yeah,
and
pretty
he got
much.
really depressed, and he started eating.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fact of life, you guys, but it's a true fact. But
There's
odd
that
decision.
A very odd decision. And
Design-wise.
then the next odd decision is they bring in Pac-Man.
Why not?
Why not Pac-Man? But then Pac-Man is riding on a giant mechanized Mokujin.
I was gonna say, does Pac-Man have a lot of moves? 'Cause,
No,
I mean, he's
on like a mech. So he's on this big fighting
So that's his
wooden...
body.
That's his body. So Mokujin used to be a character, would randomly like display like different fighting styles of other people. But now he's like this, squat, big, heavy guy. And so Pac-Man just sort of rides on him and pulls levers as he's going through it.
That sounds terrifying.
Sounds like Dr. Robotnik, kind of, like in one of his egg machines.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
It's pretty much like
makes
that.
no
That sounds
sense, but it's so
scary.
badass.
And so now the exclusivity part of all of this, Sony is actually coming out getting 2 characters. Cole McGrath from Infamous is going to be one of the playable characters, and also Turo and Kuro. Yes, which by the way,
Toro and Kuro.
not only do you love Toro and Kuro so much, I was actually doing some research on these guys. They are the mascots of sort of the Japanese side of Sony. They've had a couple of video games. They've actually been a part of like Everyone Golfs. You can get little costumes and Little Big Planet, but if you happen to look on Wikipedia for Toro, who do you find?
Toro?
Jessica!
What?
That makes no sense.
Are you serious?
I
Are you
am
seriously
serious.
still editing Wikipedia pages?
Shut up!
I thought you were done with that. I thought the restraining order said
the
you can't do that anymore.
picture that is on there, the very short article for this one character that is on there, is a picture of Jessica holding a doll.
I'm in a pink tank top in Japan going like this, aren't I?
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
Oh God, not weird at all.
You made it.
Not
Yay.
weird at all.
Relevance.
But in further news, they've actually people were like, okay, so what is Microsoft getting? And they're like, nothing.
A picture of Leah holding
Yay!
Pikachu.
Yay!
No, actually,
they're not getting
anything. No,
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. And they went out, they talked to Microsoft, and Microsoft was like, no, we're pass.
Really?
That's it.
No mention why. Like, we don't believe in the franchise. It's not that important to us.
No, just basically.
We don't have 2 tiny
They
little
never-
cats that apparently know martial arts to put forth. No.
No. I mean, like, they were very excited. They brought up, what was it? Master Chief, Marcus from Gears of War. Like, anyone, they were like, we know who we want. It's not like they haven't even had Master Chief before or a Spartan before in a fighting game.
And the same thing happened with Mortal Kombat too. They wanted, to have some Xbox exclusive characters, like they had Kratos in God of War, and they just passed. Apparently.
Yoshinori Ono says that it's pretty telling. He says, in terms of the characters we could have put in the game, Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War would have been really cool, but it was just really difficult. Now, that to me says it was really difficult to work with Microsoft on this, not difficult to put them in the game. So I think the bigger question is 2 questions, really. Number one, why would Microsoft not want to be involved in any sort of exclusivity, considering at this point how small the market for exclusive titles are with consoles? And number 2, or are we just making a bigger deal out of it than necessary, and exclusivity really doesn't matter anymore?
I just wonder if it's, and this is just me guessing because obviously I don't know why Microsoft makes the decisions that they do, but maybe they just find that it doesn't really hurt sales or it doesn't really help sales. That it's one of those things where, it's kind of that nostalgia factor. It's neat to see it happen and that the option's there, but are you going to really, I love Toro and Kuro. Obviously, it's on Wikipedia, but that's not gonna be the reason why I pick up that particular game.
Right, and I think you're right. I think even with a lot of people here, because I know a lot of people, most everyone in the office has a 360 and a PS3, and a lot of these titles, when we do get copies for PS3, we get copies for 360. Sometimes it's like, give me the 3. I need my achievements.
Sure.
I mean, the only time that ever really stood out to me, where it's like, which game am I going to pick for which console, would be that Soul Calibur when they had Yoda and Darth.
Right.
That was the last time I ever felt that this was an option where you actually sat
You
back and
have-
thought about
Yeah, I
it.
was
Yeah,
gonna
actually-
say Soul Calibur with Link. That was the last time I was like, okay, I have to get it for GameCube because it has Link in it.
Mm-hmm.
So have we moved beyond that, and now is the achievement system
Well,
more
I was-
It might not be that.
emotionally-
I mean, it could be that. Yeah, it just doesn't really matter nearly as
I
much
think
as
that
it could.
these exclusive characters are never as strong as the main characters in the game. So another thing could be that they know that they're going to have the competitive scene playing this game, and that if they're going to play it on the 360 or they're going to play it on the PS3, that's what they're going to play it on no matter what, because they're not in it for these characters. They're in it for, you know, the main characters that are already established and that they know are going to be doing well to win them money eventually. So, I mean, that's probably not what Microsoft is thinking at all, but to me, it just seems like another reason why, you know, the hardcore fighting community, they don't give a shit about exclusive characters at all. They're not playing it to have fun. They're playing it to win.
Right.
So,
I think
Fun
also it's
Easter
probably a
eggs,
lot
of
but
it-
that's kind of it.
yeah.
exactly.
I assume too, Sony probably doesn't have as much concern about one of their cat mascots being nerfed nearly as much as Microsoft having Master Chief not be as deadly as some of the other characters
Very
in the
true.
game. So there's probably that as well. But it does. I mean, just playing devil's advocate here. I mean, the old adage that that no press is bad press. Like
I don't get it.
Getting your it doesn't matter if people buy the game because your character's in it or not. The fact that your character is in a game, like the more people that see your character, I think the better it is.
But
right?
I
And
think
this
once
is
again,
devil's advocate here.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
saying.
completely. But I think like the two that they bring up, like Master Chief, Marcus Phoenix, like these are two very strong characters. These are two like their lead characters. Like they don't want to sort of like
But on,
start sending their brands out to other places. They don't necessarily want to weaken, their image. You want to make sure that every time you see Marcus or every time you see Master Chief, like it is going to be the best version of Marcus and Master Chief every single time.
Yeah,
I
I think at PAX this year with the Forza, and I think it was the Forza announcement where you could walk around and look in the cars.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Warthog, when they announced
But
that
you
the
can drive
Warthog
it.
was when they
Yeah.
announced that the Warthog was in the game. A producer from Forza didn't announce that. A producer from 343 announced
Yes.
that because they were the ones that were allowed to work with the guys from Forza to develop that. So maybe
Like
it's a development
that,
thing.
this
Like,
is how
our
this is how it
product.
works.
We
This is
control
how
this.
fast it's going to be. This is how
Yeah.
it's going to
but
handle.
you have to think that Xbox doesn't have that many exclusive characters for them to work with, but they don't have to use Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix. I mean, if they're going to be using Pac-Man, why don't they use Viva Pinata characters or just anything from the whole Microsoft library that they can use? They could use Cameo or anything. They don't have to use characters like.
Cameo.
No.
But I'm just saying, they're-
Underrated game, you guys. I
It's-
loved that game.
why I just don't understand why Microsoft isn't taking advantage of the fact that this offer is out there on the table. They don't have to use these characters that everyone thinks are strong, awesome characters. They can use, the lower scale ones.
It's true. I mean, they do have Pac-Man riding a mech, which
Yeah.
is
Very good
out of
point,
the box.
actually.
So,
Right.
Either way, though, it's an interesting conversation. I would love to be a part of the meeting where Microsoft passes and their reasons why, because I think it'd be pretty interesting because they're all about making money, and in order for them to pass on this type of thing, it must have been a pretty interesting reason why. I think.
Right.
So we'll see. But anywho, let's talk about games that were made that you guys put quite a bit of time into, and I know Jessica has been
I'd
playing.
like to say I've put a semi-decent
Yeah,
amount. How
you
many
did-
hours would you say
Here,
I
you
got
can
in?
have a
Thanks.
chocobo.
Yay.
Yay, check them out.
Jess has put in about
probably
8 hours, I think, or so.
That's pretty good.
I know you
I'm
guys have
basically
put in.
where you gather the
Go.
sheep.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
sheep.
Got it.
Well, I don't want to.
for those of you at home that don't know what sheep game we're talking about, Final Fantasy 13
it's when you
2
find these cliffs
is.
and you put. Never mind.
No,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
not gonna.
Stop.
It's cool.
So Final Fantasy 13 2 is the game of the week, and that is what we're talking about. A lot of things to cover, and so Leah, if you want to just kind of take charge, and let's first start with where we are in this world and why we think it's necessary to continue what a lot of people consider to be one of the worst Final Fantasy stories out there.
I have to say
Oh.
before we start talking about this that I actually loved Final Fantasy 13. So I want everyone to know that that's kind of the idea that I had going into the second one, was that I was really excited to play the second one. So in the sequel, you are basically starting 3 years after the events that happened in the first game, and now you're playing the main character from the first game's sister named Sarah, and she's now trying to find her sister named Lightning. So it's basically the opposite of what was going on in the first game, because in the first game, Lightning was trying to find Sarah and free Sarah from what was happening to her, and now Sarah's trying to find Lightning. So, but it basically takes everything from Final Fantasy 13, maybe not everything, but a lot of things that people liked and made them better, and then a lot of things that people didn't like from Final Fantasy 13, and they added more into the game to kind of please everyone and just to kind of give a big sort of fuck you to the people who didn't like it in the first place in some places as well. So I really love Final Fantasy 13 too, and I think that if you were a fan of the first one, that it's a great game.
Yeah, I mean, in the research I did, I didn't really have the opportunity to play it this weekend like you guys did, but one of the things I also loved 13, and when 13 came out, I think myself and Abby Heppy and I think Rob were the only people on XPlay that played, the first, because you had to play 25 hours to get through the tutorial to get to the Grand Pulse and kind of when the game starts to open up. But
See,
I really enjoyed that quite a bit. But one of the things I read online about 13 too was just like you said, that they found a way to appease the people that like 13, but they made a lot of bold changes to the gameplay to hopefully bring in other people. And I want to talk about those really. What do you guys think were really the biggest differences in the gameplay from 13 to 13-2?
Well, you go
from
ahead.
somebody that actually didn't really like 13 and thus quit because I found that the battle system and the explanation of the paradigms, I just couldn't get the hang of it. I just didn't really understand where they were going with it, and I also didn't like how everything was kind of so closed off. I absolutely am loving 13-2. So maybe I'm that person that they've managed to appease or give the gigantic you to.
So why do you?
I don't feel that way. I feel like they've really
no.
no.
So why did you love it? What were the things that they changed about the second one that?
I like the fact that because I didn't know what was happening with 13 because I had quit because I got frustrated, they still did an absolutely excellent job of explaining the entire story really concisely and specifically so that I feel like I have enough of that background that 13-2 makes sense and also expands on its own for me as far as story is concerned. I thought as far as the battle system, they did a much better job explaining it this time, and I picked it up a lot quicker. And maybe that's because I had dabbled in 13 already, and so I had a rough idea, and it was just a matter of fine-tuning it. I don't know, but either way, it seemed a lot easier for me this time around. And I also like how I feel like I'm actually having the adventure straight out of the gate, and not that it's a ginormous tutorial for 25 hours until I finally managed to make it past that point, and then it opens up. I feel like the tutorial, like I feel like I'm stepping into the world and the world's kind of like sucking me into it a little faster, and that the adventure's kind of happening right off the bat. Like there's some things I have issues with, but they're pretty minor compared to how much enjoyment I'm getting out of the game.
Okay. And Rob, what about you? I mean, we've seen now.
No. I actually reviewed 13, and I really enjoyed it. I've been playing 13 too. I also really enjoy it, but I also find like some of the stuff like sort of puzzling to the whole thing. So like the whole 20, 25 hours to get through the first 13 in order for it to open up. Like I didn't like how it really forced you to, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do this. But I felt like they were trying to do it in order to get people sort of like used to this new play style, this new
battle
skill
system.
this new battle system.
Drastic departure from everything they've done in the past.
It's not even an RPG, because a lot of people I talk to, and they're like, oh, this is a horrible RPG. And I have to agree with them. It is a horrible RPG because it's not a horrible, I mean, it's not an RPG to begin with. It's sort of like a strategy game where you're having to figure out the best way to put your team together and flip them around in order to deal with whatever situation you have. But I find with the new sort of setup, you don't get the characterization like you did in the old one. Like in the old one, I have like Lightning, you have Zaz, you have like all these like really great characters, even the annoying characters, even Hope. Hope was probably the most annoying character to begin with. This whiny, bratty.
I hated Hope.
Hope, oh my God. I can't believe I have to listen to this son of a bitch the whole time. But after a while, as you're going through, in the 20 hours that you're going through it, you get to know, like, this is what Hope's about. Hope loses his mother from the very get-go because he's not willing to fight. Like, he's too scared. He feels like he's too young. He feels like something's going to happen. Snow instead recruits his mother. Mother gets killed. And then he's like, that guy. I want to kill Snow because you got my mother killed. And so for the 20 hours that you're having to sort of do this tutorial, you're learning like Snow or Hope is sort of like plotting his revenge on Snow. And then you get to that point where they're stuck together and you're like, this is going to go down. He's going to do it. During this point, this section.
Oh, you never think that. It's Final Fantasy, for God's sake.
But
But
that's
never going to kill Snow.
I just feel like so many people bagged on that first 25 hours of the game, but that first 25 hours of the game are some of the most memorable parts of that game for me. And everyone always sort of writes those off, but that's where they build all the suspense and where they build all the story. And that's important for a Final Fantasy game. And I feel like the people who just kind of didn't get that's what they were doing.
And obviously 13.2 benefited greatly from that because, and you know, you're looking at it from a different perspective because you didn't get through that 25 hours or so. But I think a lot of people that played through that go, 13.2 benefits because I can be thrust right into all of this because I already understand the battle system. I understand the motivations of the characters. However, not continuing character development is something I think they probably should have focused on. But I think what they realized, like you guys said, huge departure in the way that the battle systems occurred. I think for the better. This may be my favorite. I don't really like strategy games. You're right. This is a strategy game, and I think if people started looking at the franchise like that as opposed to an RPG, more people might get into it. But
love it.
I think it's fantastic.
No, it's great, and like it's very weird. Like you're basically stuck with like two characters. I think this is like the smallest party Final Fantasy has ever had because it's you, someone else, and a monster.
Yeah. Now, so we really have to talk about this monster thing because it's
the most adorably badass things.
I just got to say that I love it. It's like Pokemon in a Final Fantasy game. You basically run around, and each time you kill a new monster, you have a chance of being able to recruit that monster into your party, and then you can level them up, and you can also give them clothes and name them and all this other sorts of stuff. So if you can't tell, I love chocobos. And so the first thing I did was find out how do I get a chocobo in my party, and I went out and I went to the place with the sheep and I fought a chocobo and I got it in my party, and now he's named Chirp and he's in my party and I love him and he's a badass. So I just feel like this is something that they haven't really done in a Final Fantasy game before, and it's sort of like, why can this monster travel in time with me when like no one else can? And it just doesn't make any sense, but it's fun and I like it. So
well, the time traveling's very loosely across the board makes sense, but you know, whatever. It's a game,
they do some actually some pretty interesting things. Like I think the time traveling works well because the characters are not interesting. Like I don't care about the characters.
Yeah, the characters in this game are definitely not on par with the characters from the first game.
But the situations that they throw you into. So basically each of these time periods that you're going into are like, there's a new situation. There's something new that you're going to do. There was, the situation you're talking about with the sheep, wide open, fun things to do. You can actually manipulate the weather there. So you actually have 4 different areas that you can explore because of that. A little bit later down the road, there's an area which I sort of think is like a zombie attack, where it is just like you are just running for your life down a city, like futuristic cities, skyscrapers, flying cars everywhere, monsters just running right at you. It's almost like a boss rush mode because you're just getting hit over and over and over again.
I do, however, feel like they've tried to make maybe too many people happy, and the example that I would give would be I'm not. Unless later on, and maybe it's just I haven't gotten there yet, and you guys have, and feel free to jump in and tell me if I'm wrong. But the conversations that you choose,
oh, those are terrible.
It's like they just kind of toss that in there because of
other games are doing it.
And I don't really none of the statements that you can choose from are really all that powerful in the first place or really explain that much. And then, unless it has some really hardcore influence on what happens to the storyline or the character later on, it's really pointless. And that actually is probably, out of the entire game, the one thing that, if I had to choose something that irritates me, the thing that irritates me the most. I do like the little the weird paradox mini puzzle game that you have.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Those are fun, but I don't really get the point of them.
They're I mean, once again, it's sort of to break up the battle system. You're stuck with like 2 characters and a monster the whole time. They really want to give you something new to do, and they do understand pacing a little bit better in this game. Like once again, the 20 hours to begin with. You got through your areas. There was sort of an ebb and flow, but it was a very slow sort of game. In this one, like you can jump into a new area and all of a sudden boss battle.
Right.
Or you can jump into a couple of areas and it'll be, you can walk around. You can jump into a new area and you're running for your life. You jump into a new area and it's like 5 bosses.
I feel like the new areas are more developed than the actual characters in the game. Like when you go to a new area, you really feel like, oh, like I want to know what's happening here and I want to help the people here and I want to do the quests here. But when you're playing as these 2 main characters in the game, you don't really care about what they're doing very much. And I feel like that's a fault on, the character side of things. But I love all the areas that you get to travel to.
Okay. You definitely care about saving the world and being involved in the world versus you care about saving the people.
Right.
The people are just the tools that you are using as this presence as a gamer to save this world that you're slowly falling in love with.
Well, it's kind of weird. Like the whole story sort of like sort of pivots on the fact that you're just really confused about everything that's going on. Like you don't, like there's one character who's from the future but cannot remember anything that sort of happens into the past. And there's one character who can actually see the future but only bits and pieces of it's going on. And there's certain things that do pop up. Like I actually ran into like a section where it was like, oh, okay, maybe this is the boss. Maybe this is like going to be the main bad guy that we have to go against. And then it wasn't at all. It was just like some sort
of like the flan or whatever.
No, it was something sort of like that. But it was later on where it was like, oh, it's the computer. The robots have taken control, and it's like T-2000, and there's like a Skynet, and they've killed all the people. And it's like, oh, that's great. Computers taking control. Computers versus humanity. And then it's like, no, we completely corrected that.
Just kidding.
And just like, they went back into the past. They stopped, the people from making the computer. And then it's like, well, that's not your problem.
The story, if you aren't familiar with it, is so hard to follow. For me, I mean, I have played the game, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, what? Like that's what happened? That what was going on? Oh, like it makes so much more sense now that someone else is explaining it to me. But I feel like that's what happened in Final Fantasy 13 as well, that I just didn't understand that story for the most part. It was so confusing, and so is this one. So I don't like that. And I think one of the things, if I could add anything into the game, would be a way for them to sort of hold my hand a little bit and help me to know where I was supposed to be going next within the Historia Crux. Because a lot of the times I don't know, like I'll have explored the area so much and unlocked like 4 new places that I can go to, but it doesn't say like if you want to continue the main story, go here.
Right.
And a lot of times I've gotten lost and wasted tons of time doing that, and that's something that I don't like to do.
All right, so let's remove ourselves from the big conversation and just quickly before we move on to fan feedback, because actually fan feedback does, and there are a couple of 13.2 questions in fan feedback, but if you are not a fan of the series, is this the game that you should attempt to play that may bring you on board quickly, Jessica?
I would say yes.
Yes, okay. Yes.
Go for it.
Sounds good. All right, great. So go buy Final Fantasy 13 too. And I can say just from watching Jess play it, it does seem pretty awesome. So I'm going to echo all of your sentiments. But let's move on to fan feedback. Jessica, if you want to take over, the first question.
Okay.
The first question is
Taze 201. In your opinion, what is the best new feature of 13.2?
So, guys, quickly, your favorite feature, 13.2.
Favorite feature, better tutorial.
Better tutorial, okay.
I like the new pet system, and I think that the battle system is amazing this time around.
Agreed.
Pacing. I think they really learn how to put together sort of this adventure as you're going through it.
Looks like they're taking a lot of cues from Western developers, and they're because JRPGs, the pacing in a lot of ways is just you don't really know
it's
what's
all over
going
the place.
on. Sounds like they're trying to make a more Western game, and excuse me, I think that's a good thing. All right, M4 Dash.
M4 Dash. Netflix has officially canceled its video game rental plan, Quickster. Is the competition too fierce from GameFly and GameStop, or has online game passes sort of killed the profitability of rentals, used, and digital game services? Pardon my burping at the end. Okay, so off camera, I took a sip of my pop or soda. Now I just burped into the mic.
Well, this is like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, did it actually fall? Like, can you cancel something that never truly existed in the first place?
I think
they put it down. They were writing about it. They were thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that they thought very well in not having the service, because you have to think about it. With a game, the service isn't the same as a movie service. With Netflix, you're going to dedicate 2 hours of your life to watch it, and that's not the same as with a GameFly or something. You have to spend like 10, 15, 30, 60 hours dedicated to a game. And that isn't something that works well with that system. And I'm really surprised that services like GameFly have been around for as long as they have, because I personally don't know anyone that has a GameFly account. And I'm not saying that the service isn't good. I'm just saying that I wouldn't want what that service is providing, because what if I want to go back and play that game, or I don't want to have it for, I don't want to be sitting down 8 hours a day playing this game just so I can send it back and get another one. I need a break every once in a while. And I just think that it's really smart of Netflix not to go through with this, because they don't need to. And they could do something more like on live or anything that's just a little bit, they could just rethink it. I think the people at Netflix are super smart and they don't need this service in the first place.
I think GameFly is probably directed more towards people that, unlike us, or who aren't fortunate enough to be able to get their hands on a lot of these $60+ games for free. And a lot of times I think it's directed more towards people that can afford to pay $8 a month and potentially play $120 worth of games over the course of that month.
They've been around for so long. Like, they've sort of figured out their formula. They've figured out what works for them. They know their customers, and they know how long someone's going to sit down with this game, when it's going to come back, and, shipping and so on and so forth. I think it's a lot of... Well, you can't go into this lightly. I think that's the whole deal.
And I would have to agree that I think, like, as streaming continues to get better, it'll be very interesting to see how this is going to affect that kind of approach to rentals, because the price could potentially be reduced for a lot of the games that maybe these people can't afford and so rent, just because they're no longer having to go into a store. They're not having to box art and all that stuff that comes with games that adds to the cost a little bit, is going to be now gone, and you can just go ahead and rent it through a stream.
Okay.
So
here's a question.
Do you guys see Netflix revisiting this at a future
so.
date? Because they do have once it becomes streaming, they do have the install base. Netflix is on every game console.
I think that they will eventually make it there, but I think that they really need to make sure that they have a product that's going to work and is going to be easy to use and that people will want to use before they kind of throw something out there that people aren't sure about, and before they're copying something else that's working but isn't working maybe to the best it can possibly be.
Right.
Yeah. Would you think about renting games on your console?
Absolutely.
100%.
It's like demos. When you download a free demo, that's awesome. So it could be kind of something like that. So I don't know. I think that's the way of the future.
Yeah.
I mean, On Live essentially does that now, don't they?
Right. But
it's not my main console, but it's...
Right, but you would have to download the whole game, play it for a while, but then they would still be able to take away maybe that game, or maybe somehow some sort of key, some sort of mechanism would stop you from playing it after a certain amount of time.
We were in movies all the time through the 360 through the Zoom marketplace, and I think that
would be a smarter move on their part.
I think that's a way bigger profit sharing discussion that the console manufacturers obviously are having with a lot of the software developers, But I agree that Netflix should have pulled back on this, but it would be smart of them considering that they are now, if they could find a way to work out a profit-sharing system, Netflix is bundled with TVs now. We could conceivably, we're looking at a future where your television already has a service baked into it. You might not even need a console.
They announced something like that at CES. I believe it was called the Gaikai system, and it basically is that. It's a service like Netflix for video games that's going to be installed in all Samsung TVs from now on. So
Genius.
It's so smart of them, and if you haven't heard of that technology, you should look it up, because it's what we're all talking about already exists.
You were there. Did you find that a lot of people were having that discussion?
I did not cover that, so for me personally, no. But I know that Gaikai was definitely brought up as one of those things that were the step in the right direction and the next step that we're moving towards.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Secret Soda.
Oh, Secrets. I'm like,
which sounds delicious.
Yeah,
by
you have
the
to
way.
tell us what flavor you are.
Yes.
Creepy. So, Secret Soda, what are your opinions on the turn-based combat system in role-playing games? Do you believe it could use some innovation? Lastly, how do you think turn-based combat will evolve in the future? I kind of feel like we might have already answered this. The Final Fantasy
13-2
and
isn't really
13-2?
turn-based, number one, right? It's real-time
it was.
battle system.
in a way, it still kind of is turn-based.
Because
And what I wrote down is that I actually find Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2 to be really innovative, and it kind of took what we loved playing in 7, 8, and 9, and all the other role-playing games, and it kind of made it a lot faster paced, and it still made you in control of the battle, but it's still turn-based, and I really think that we are going in the right direction, and that Final Fantasy 13 is already innovating.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other games out there, like Cthulhu Saves the World is a great little downloadable title where it is very much turn-based action, but every turn the enemies get stronger, so it sort of forces you to try to finish up battles quickly. You can also, if you want to, you can initiate a combat anytime you want. So you could wander around and have a randomized dungeon, or you can also just hit a button, you're in battle. And so it's like really great things like that. But I also think like the, fight, defend, spell, cast system, like that sort of stuff is also, there's a place for that. You can do it very well. Like if you put it in the right context, if you put the right characters, if you actually build a good story around it, you can still make a great game out of like the old school turn-based system.
And last night I ended up coming across a boss that I was really probably not supposed to battle. And it took probably a good 30 to 40 minutes to actually go through it. But
was it the dragon in the sheep area?
No, I don't want to admit what it is just in case I
Was
did it
it
wrong.
tomato?
I don't want you guys, maybe. I don't
You
want
went
guys
after
to
the
know.
tomato
I
when it
did.
told you not to?
No, it didn't tell me the first time.
It tells you, it was like, are you sure?
I think I skipped and somehow got there and then ended up battling it a first round, and it never said, and there was no warning pop-up until after I went through the level and then came back, and it's like, are you sure you want to do that?
No, you were supposed to do that. They usually do that
good.
afterwards, so you have
Well,
the
it
story.
still took me a really, really long time, like a good 30 to 40 minutes, and it definitely felt, like even using the paradigm shift, it definitely felt turn-based because I had to sit there and, because I was such a low level compared to what I was battling, had to really plan it out and strategize, like when am I going to use my potions? How am I going to like write one? Never mind.
Thank you for taking us on that very personal journey.
Very
just now.
deep inside.
We truly appreciate the moment that you guys just had. Thank you guys so much. To get back on track, since we are running out of time here, I wanted to just skip down to the last one, Jessica, because I think this is a very interesting question about cutscenes in games, considering we're talking about a game that has quite a few cutscenes.
Are you talking about Zolpidel?
That's Sloppy Lex, which is an STD you can get in space.
Zolpidel. One of the main reasons I began disliking Final Fantasy games is that they started to have more cutscenes than actual gameplay and felt like I was just watching a movie with annoying gameplay interruptions. What do you think is a good ratio of gameplay to cutscenes before it's too much? Oh, well, I don't think...
Personal taste, I think, right? I mean,
Well, it depends on the game. It depends on the story. It depends on what you're looking at. Like it depends on how they use the cutscenes. Are we using cutscenes to just cover up, we don't have enough game, or are we using cutscenes to actually sort of like do something in the game that you cannot do through gameplay?
See, I'd have to say the Final Fantasy 13-2 actually does have a nice balance of, and I use quotes, cut, because a lot of it is actually kind of a live cutscene where you interact with everything. And so to me, that's a nice balance, and it kind of helps get you away from that, I gotta listen to them talk again. So it helps in that regard.
I think I got a lot of flack on the comment section last week for saying that I skip a lot of cutscenes, and I found myself thinking about this a lot. And what I find is that if I'm playing a character in a game, then I'm more inclined to want to watch the cutscene. But if I'm playing a character that I create, like a character in Skyrim, for example, I just want to get to the battle because that's me, that's my character, that's what I'm thinking. But if
you're gonna ask questions later, type of thing.
yeah. But if I'm playing in a Final Fantasy game, I want to get involved with these characters and I want to know about them and I want to watch these cutscenes. And I find that in Final Fantasy 13 too. I've watched almost every single cutscene the entire way through, and I love it. So it just really does depend on the game and what type of gamer you are, as to how much. So I'd say a good ratio would be like 70-30 in a Final Fantasy game.
I didn't even have like an actual number, but yes.
She's got so much stuff written down on her paper, though. Like, she's got things going on that paper over there.
It's an essay.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, I think it's just the game. It depends on like what you're doing with it. I mean, for this Final Fantasy, I think they do a good mix. Sometimes it feels a little heavy. Sometimes it feels just right. But I think it depends on the scenario. I think it depends on like what you want to do. I don't think most games do allow you to skip cutscenes. I think I've skipped only like maybe 1 or 2 cutscenes.
Yeah.
Just get rid of those
I think
dialogue
through-
options
through-
and we're
Yeah.
good.
I agree with
Yes.
your point, Rob. The most important point is don't give me a cutscene because you don't have any gameplay to
Yeah,
put in that
exactly.
space. And because Metal Gear is like one of my favorite series, and was it
4?
4 was so cutscene heavy, but I loved the crazy up that they were showing me, and I was
Right.
like, "This is great. I'll take a 20-minute break from gameplay."
And that's
because
how it is in Call of Duty
this
games,
story,
too.
This
Right.
story is great, but I think most importantly, don't give me a cutscene because you don't have gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, as always, Jessica, what are you working on, or anything people can look forward to seeing?
So it's been
Big
announced.
announcements.
This is the big secret that I've been keeping to myself for over a year, and it's been killing me. I actually have a character in Mass Effect 3. Her name's Diana Allers. She's a reporter. I know, big stretch. And the best part is, if they've kept it in, I'll have to read the press release. Maybe they changed it behind my back, and I don't know. If they kept it in, you get to have sex with me. I'm a romanceable character. Yay!
Whoa!
Romanceable, that's what we're calling it.
So I'm going to go
Congratulations.
and do that.
Are you less annoying than the other reporter character?
I'm going to say yes. I'd like to think so.
Because that one you just punched
Thanks,
out.
Rob.
Yeah, that is very big news, obviously, and you can see that in the game on March
Mm-hmm.
7th, I believe. Mass Effect 3 comes out 6. Is it 6? Thank you, disembodied voice from the corner. Nicole, everybody!
Yay!
March 6th, Mass Effect 3. Also, I assume we're going to be covering it on X-Play and probably having a conversation about it on feedback as well. Congratulations.
Thank
very
you.
awesome.
It's been killing me.
Yes, it has. Princess Leia.
Princess Leia would love you to go check out g4tv.com/the feed to check out all the latest and greatest news on video games.
Very well done. And Rob, anything in the new job that you want people to look out for?
Yes, actually, this week will be the indie column will have an exclusive on Retrograde, this really cool game that sort of mixes side-scrolling shooter plus Guitar Hero. And we're revealing like a new sort of mode that they have going along with it. It's a really great looking game, and it also has some great music to go along with it. So check it out.
Right on. Yes. You have something to
I
add.
also want to say it's my birthday today, and I'm a big girl.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
One more year and you can rent a car by yourself,
I
which is a
know!
really,
Oh
really
my
big
God.
deal. Very big deal.
That's so big.
But true, I remember
It's
the day.
very true.
I remember the day that I could rent a Kia
No.
without my
Oh
parents'
my God.
consent,
I
and that
know.
was freaking sweet.
Yep, that's right.
Well, guys, again, thank you for being here. Rob, again, congratulations.
Well,
We're
thank
going
you.
to miss you on X Play,
Yay.
but welcome, I know, to the G4 team,
We're
and thank
so
you guys.
happy to have him.
Very much so.
Aw.
Thank you guys for being here. As always, you can catch new episodes every Wednesday on g4tv.com/feedback. As usual, I will be leaving the studio and entering the Donnell zone repeatedly.